Once, they told him he wasn't good enough. In the cold of London, a young man in blue waited for a chance that never came. He trained, he worked, he prayed. But at Chelsea, no one was watching. He didn't leave by choice. He was sent away, loaned out, forgotten. England closed the door on him. But that rejection lit something. He rebuilt himself in silence, faster, stronger, sharper, until the same league that cast him aside was forced to kneel before him. He shattered records. He carried Liverpool to glory. But still, they hesitate. Still, they question. Because in England, some people refuse to see what's right in front of them. Maybe it's rivalry. Maybe it's bias. Or maybe it's because greatness doesn't always fit their story. Back home, he's not doubted. He's worshipped. For Egypt, he carries dreams. For England, he fights for recognition. So how does a man win when he has to win twice? This is the story of Mo Salah, the man who carried two worlds and still wasn't done proving himself. Before the lights of Anfield, before the roar of millions, there was Nagrig, a small village tucked away in Egypt's Nile Delta, where time moved slow and dreams moved slower. Here, a young boy named Mohamed Salah spent more time with a football than anything else. The ball didn't care who you were, only how much you wanted it. Every morning before sunrise, Salah would leave home and travel hours by bus just to train. The ride was long, the road was rough, but to him, it was the only road that mattered. He'd train until his legs gave out, then take that same bus back long after dark. His friends called him crazy. His coaches called him determined. But Salah called it destiny. He wasn't born into football's system. He broke into it. Every trial, every rejection, every promise unkept, he answered with work. In Egypt's youth leagues, he wasn't the biggest or strongest, but he ran like a man being chased by destiny. When scouts from Cairo spotted him, he was only 14, but already carrying a dream too big for most men. A boy from a forgotten village was about to chase the impossible. At just 14, Salah left Nagrig behind. No family, no luxury, just faith and fire. The city was loud, the nights were long, and every mistake could mean the end of the dream. He'd train 6 days a week, often skipping meals to save money for the journey home. But every time he laced his boots, he carried Nagrig with him. Soon, word spread of the boy who couldn't stop running. Egypt's under-20 call-up, national attention. And yet, even then, he wasn't chasing fame. He was chasing a feeling, the one you get when the ball hits the back of the net. And for a second, everything makes sense. From dusty streets to national promise. It felt like the dream was finally taking shape. But in football, the higher you rise, the harder the fall can be. He'd escaped the shadows of Nagrig. But what happens when the world you've been chasing turns its back on you? When Mo Salah left Egypt for Europe, he wasn't chasing fame, he was chasing respect. In Basel, he found both. He was fast, fearless, a spark in the cold. It was a world away from Nagrig, the air sharper, the nights quieter, the pressure louder. He didn't speak the language, he didn't know the streets. But when the ball was at his feet, everyone understood him. In Switzerland, his pace became his passport. He didn't just outrun defenders, he outran doubt. When Basel faced Chelsea in Europe, he tore through their defence like they were standing still. It was that night, under the floodlights, that England noticed the boy from Egypt, and soon they wanted him. In 2014, Chelsea came calling. The dream had arrived. But sometimes dreams can turn to prisons. He packed his bags and stepped into a world of cameras, headlines, and high expectations. He was 21, young, hungry, ready. But at Chelsea, he was one of many. A squad full of stars. Hazard, Oscar, Willian, Shirl, all fighting for the same space. He waited, watched, trained harder than anyone. And when his moment finally came, it came too soon. A few flashes of lightning pace, a few goals, a few glimpses of what could be. But it wasn't enough. At a club built on power and control, there was no room for freedom. Every movement was measured, every mistake magnified. He wasn't failing, he just didn't fit. At Chelsea, mistakes weren't lessons, they were labels. Once the whispers start, they never stop. And for a young player trying to adapt, the silence of the bench was louder than any crowd. He played, but never belonged. And in football, that's the same as disappearing. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. His rhythm faded, his confidence thinned. The boy who ran like the wind was now standing still. When the door finally opened, it wasn't to the pitch. It was to the exit, loaned out, sent away, forgotten. To most, it looked like the end. But for Salah, it was just another beginning. He didn't complain. He didn't curse. He packed his faith, his fire, and his focus, and started again. In Fiorentina, something changed. He wasn't the timid kid anymore. He was sharper, faster, angrier, but in the right way. He'd learned how cruel football could be, and he was ready to answer it with goals. In Florence, the purple shirt felt like freedom. No politics, no pecking order, just football. The boy who was told he wasn't enough stopped trying to prove people wrong. He started proving himself right. He scored on his debut, then again and again. Every goal in Italy wasn't just a score, it was a scar healing. For the first time in years, he smiled on the pitch again. England had thrown him away. But in the shadows of Serie A, he was becoming something far more dangerous. A player with nothing left to lose and nothing left to fear. Because when you rebuild yourself in silence, how loud will your comeback sound? In Italy, the air felt different. The pressure was still there, but the weight was gone. Fiorentina gave him something simple: freedom. No politics, no bench, no headlines about failure, just football. Here, no one cared about what happened in London. No one saw a reject, only a runner, relentless, reborn. He played like a man possessed, every touch sharper, every sprint a statement. For the first time in years, he was playing without fear, and that made him dangerous. Florence embraced him. The purple shirt, the noise, the belief. It felt like life again. Every goal was a piece of himself stitched back together. Every celebration, a quiet act of defiance. He wasn't chasing approval anymore. He was chasing truth. For months, defenders couldn't catch him. They didn't just see speed, they saw vengeance. Because Mo Salah wasn't running from anyone anymore. He was running toward destiny, but Fiorentina was only the spark. Rome would be the fire. When Roma signed him, they didn't just buy a winger, they unleashed a weapon. In Rome, the expectations were higher, the spotlight brighter, the noise louder, and Salah thrived in it. He became the heartbeat of their counterattack, pace, precision, and purpose. He wasn't the player chasing minutes anymore. He was the one defining games. 34 goals in 2 seasons, records falling, crowds chanting his name. For the first time in his life, Europe stood still and stared. In Rome, he didn't just rebuild his form, he rebuilt his belief. The raw talent that Chelsea couldn't understand was now refined, ruthless, and relentless. He'd learned to control chaos, to turn pain into power. And every time he scored, the echoes from England grew quieter. But deep down, there was still a question, the kind that never stops whispering. Could he go back to the league that rejected him and conquer it? Because redemption doesn't come from distance. It comes from facing the very place that broke you. He'd built himself stronger, faster, smarter, but unfinished business has a sound. and he could still hear it calling. And in the summer of 2017, the call finally came. A different club, a different man. Liverpool. The boy they once doubted was coming home, but not to fit in. He was coming back to take over. For years, England had dismissed him as a footnote. Now he was returning as a headline. But not everyone was celebrating. When Liverpool paid nearly £40 million for Mo Salah, the football world laughed.
I'm very excited, and I can say I will give 100%, and I give everything for the club because I'm here and I like to be here, and really I want to win something for this club.
They saw a failed Chelsea winger, not a rebuilt warrior. They saw a price tag, not the scars that earned it. To them, he was another gamble, another name that would fade. They called him overpriced. They called him a risk. Some pundits smirked. Some fans rolled their eyes. Some said he won't last 6 months. But behind the quiet smile, Salah knew something they didn't. You can't overpay for hunger, because the man they mocked wasn't the same boy who left. He'd been forged in failure, hardened by rejection. And this time, he wasn't asking for a chance. He was taking it. Soon, England would learn the cost of doubt. June 2017. A familiar league, a new man. He arrived without noise, no promises, no arrogance, just calm, quiet eyes, and a purpose that didn't need words. For him, this wasn't revenge. It was unfinished business. Liverpool had taken a risk. Klopp saw what others didn't, that the hunger in Salah's eyes wasn't the look of a man chasing fame, but one who'd been starved of it. He didn't talk about redemption, he lived it, in silence, in training, in the small things nobody noticed.
Players like Sadio and Mo, because of their quality and their skills in offensive situations, won the balls, played by ourselves, really brave football, and the result is just the result of the performance.
From the moment he touched the ball, everything changed. The crowd rose when he ran. Defenders backed off. You could feel it, something electric, something new. He played like a man possessed, not to prove them wrong, but to remind himself what he already knew. That first season wasn't a comeback, it was a takeover. 44 goals, records shattered, every strike a message, every roar a reply to the laughter.
He's been brilliant since he come in pre-season. He's shown what he's all about, scoring goals, linking up with the forward men and doing his defensive duties as well. So he was fantastic again today and deserved man of the match.
He didn't just score, he lifted a city. A city that had waited too long for someone to turn belief into proof. England had doubted him once. Now, it couldn't look away. Because in Mo Salah, Liverpool found more than a forward. They found a phenomenon. Then came the nights when football felt holy. Champions League, Anfield under lights, Madrid, Rome, Paris. Those nights when the air itself felt alive. When every red shirt carried the rhythm of his run. When belief turned into certainty. Liverpool rose again, and Salah was its heartbeat. He wasn't chasing the game anymore. He was the game, from rejected to revered. From forgotten to unforgettable. And yet, even after everything, some still hesitated to call him what he was. He broke records that stood for generations. By his third season, Salah had done more than rewrite records. He'd rewritten belief itself. He became the fastest player in Liverpool history to reach 100 goals, 3 Golden Boots, 2 African Player of the Year awards, a Premier League Player of the Season, Champions League winner, Premier League winner, FA Cup, League Cup, Super Cup, Club World Cup. Every trophy England could offer, he lifted. Every record that once belonged to legends, he touched. And still, he kept going. By 2025, he'd become the first player in Premier League history to win the Golden Boot, the Playmaker Award, and Player of the Season in the same campaign. He became the first player in Liverpool's history to score 20 or more goals in 8 straight seasons. He climbed past Kenny Dalglish and closed in on Robbie Fowler with Ian Rush still just ahead, the final summit of Anfield's mountain. He became Liverpool's highest scorer in European competition and the most prolific African in Premier League history. He set records for goal involvements, broke marks for opening day goals, and scored and assisted against the champions in both fixtures of the same season, something no one had ever done before. By 2025, he wasn't chasing history anymore. He was history. The names he grew up watching, now the names beside his own. There were no more whispers, only witnesses. Not bad for a man they said wouldn't last 6 months. Because bias runs deeper than numbers. Rival fans called him a diver. Pundits called him one-dimensional. They analysed his left foot as if perfection needed explaining. Maybe it was rivalry. Maybe it was envy. Or maybe greatness doesn't fit everyone's story. And still, he kept smiling. He kept scoring. He kept showing up. He wasn't just great because of what he scored. He was great because of what he gave. The humility, the faith, the fight. While others chased headlines, he chased purpose. And in Liverpool, they never needed convincing. They saw him, not the price, not the bias, him. They saw the man who prayed before he celebrated, who stopped to sign every shirt, who carried himself with the grace of someone who remembered where he came from. To them, he wasn't a signing. He was a son. He gave the city goals, yes. But more importantly, he gave it identity. Salah once said his daughters were born here and that they are Scousers.
My kids are Scouser now, so...
That says everything. Because home isn't where you're from. It's where people believe in you. Liverpool believed in him. And in return, he gave them everything. From the boy who once watched football through a bus window, to the man who made the world watch him. He'd conquered England, but there was still one stage left, one dream heavier than all the rest. After proving the world wrong, could he now prove himself right to his people? Every time he puts on the red of Liverpool, he carries a city. But every time he wears the red of Egypt, he carries a nation. In England, he represents excellence. In Egypt, he represents hope. Back home, they call him the pride of Egypt, the boy from Nagrig who made the world stop and stare. He carried them to their first World Cup in 28 years. But weeks before that dream, in a Champions League final, watched by the world, everything changed. One fall, one tear. The shoulder that had lifted Liverpool now carried a nation's heartbreak. He fought to return, and somehow he did. Barely 3 weeks after Kiev, he was back on the pitch, still injured, still scoring for Egypt, because walking away was never an option. Even through pain, he delivered moments that will live forever. He scored the penalty that sent Egypt to their first World Cup since 1990, a single strike that stopped the nation. Over 50 international goals, IFCON finalist, Olympic captain, national icon, twice named CAF African Player of the Year, carrying not just Egypt, but a continent's pride. But with belief comes burden. When he wins, millions celebrate. When he loses, millions ache with him. He doesn't just play for Egypt, he plays as Egypt. Yet through it all, he never complains. He smiles, the same calm smile he's worn since Nagrig. His celebrations aren't for cameras, they're for gratitude. To the world, he's a superstar. To his daughters, he's just dad. And when he says they're Scousers, you realize something powerful. For a man from a small Egyptian village, home isn't where you start, it's where you're loved back. From Nagrig to Basel, from exile to empire. Mo Salah's story isn't about football, it's about faith, about fight, about carrying two worlds and never dropping either. From the boy who travelled hours just to train, to the man who made time stop inside Anfield. From rejection came resolve. From silence came legacy. He carried a club. He carried a country. And through it all, he never lost himself. Because Mo Salah never needed to shout to be heard. He didn't need to just prove it twice. He kept proving it over and over and over again.